and that nightmare being described of real things. That's the Panthers season, and it's over. It's over. What's the best part about it? It's over.
It's done.
It's over. It's done. It can't hurt you anymore.
Can it, though?
No. It's Scott Fitterer was fired today. That's the general manager. The coach was fired after week 11. The quickest firing an NFL coach has been fired in a long time after just 11 games. The next few weeks are the last chance for David Tepper to turn around his tenure in Carolina. David Tepper, the owner. But by saying that, I'm acknowledging something else. Right? By saying the next few weeks are the last chance for David Tepper to turn around his tenure in Carolina, what I am also saying, right, deductive reasoning, we can get here together, there's a chance he could turn around his tenure in Carolina. I don't know how likely it is, but it's possible. If you absolutely hit a home run on GM and coach, you can turn it around. Possible, right? Let's go full Dumb and Dumber with it. So you're telling me there's a chance. First of all, the firing of Scott Fitterer needed to happen. Here's Chris Tabor, the interim head coach, on how this season was a disappointment.
I think everything that I've said since I've taken over is about the tape. What does your tape say? I mean, yes, 0-16 is horrible. This isn't much better. How you go from here is obviously, it's going to talk a lot about how you are as a person. You know, I learned a lot that year. You know, we just kind of continue to try to keep getting better.
It doesn't mean Fitterer being fired doesn't mean that Fitterer is really good at his job. That'd be Roger. Fitterer doesn't mean it's Fitterer that's a bad guy. It means that he took his career into his own hands and took some risks, and they didn't pan out. When you trade away, let's use some examples here. Christian McCaffrey. It means that you took your career into your own hands and said, running backs fall off a cliff, we need to sell now. Christian McCaffrey did not fall off a cliff. He is still wildly productive. It's going to be tough to explain, right? You took the gamble. You used what your best information you had. Didn't work out. It's going to be tough to explain. When you trade up for a quarterback and give away the farm and it doesn't work out and that farm ends up being a number 1 overall pick the next year, that's going to be tough to explain. Right? You have to do some real mental gymnastics to explain how that was actually a good decision. When you make a bunch of draft picks and you trade away a bunch of draft picks over a 3 or 4 year period, so you don't really have anything tangible to stand on. You don't have a bunch of starters from your last few drafts. You don't even have a bunch of guys still on the roster from your last few drafts. That's going to be tough to explain. You took your shot. You came up busto. Now it's time for someone else to sit at the table. That's all it was. And you know the game when you're a general manager. I don't think Scott Fitterer traded away Christian McCaffrey going, this is 100% going to look awesome on me no matter what. Trade away Christian McCaffrey with a little bit of, if he doesn't slow down over the next 3 years, it's going to look like a really bad trade. He didn't trade up to Bryce Young, to draft Bryce Young number 1 overall thinking, there's no way this is going to backfire. He traded away a future first. There's always that panging in the back of your brain like, this could get ugly quick. And if it gets ugly quick, you lose your job. Right? That's if you put $100 down on the table in Vegas, you could lose $100.
Oh yeah.
You know the stakes. You know what you're betting with. When you're a general manager and you make such high level, highly risk, high reward type decisions, you know what's on the table. You know what's at stake. So Scott Fitterer, again, like I said, Fitterer, Rivera, Reich, all of these guys that have been Matt Rule, they seem like decent guys, right? I don't think personally I have any problem with any of them. But when you make the big decisions for an NFL team, there's a chance you're going to lose your job. And you're probably going to be paid handsomely to walk away.
And by the way, Fitterer used one of those picks that he got from McCaffrey as part of the trade up to get
Are we talking
quarterback?
Are we talking
Yes.
Bryce Young? Are we talking Matt
Bryce
Corral?
Young.
Are we
Yes, sorry,
talking
Bryce
Sam
Young. My
Darnold? Are we
apologies.
talking Baker Mayfield?
Yeah.
There's quite a few trades that have happened. So
There have been so many. I lost my train of thought.
didn't know
Yeah, but
which
he used one of the
quarterback you were
second
going
round.
for.
He used the second round pick that he got from McCaffrey as part of those picks that he got, and he used that to trade up to get Bryce Young. And it's like, well, wait a second.
and Tyreek Stevenson was the. We've been over this, but I just want to bring it up again. If you watched the Bears game over the weekend, Tyreek Stevenson, the corner who was that pick, it was. They traded Christian McCaffrey. Part of what they brought back was a second-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
They used that second-round pick as part of the package to trade up and draft Bryce Young, and the Bears used that pick to draft Tyreek Stevenson. Stevenson played great over the weekend.
Yeah.
Made a bunch of knocked one away in the end zone from Romeo Doubs. He was all over the place. He's a really good player, which just makes the trade looks worse. But here's the less talked about silver lining. This is an opportunity for the Panthers, and maybe the last opportunity under David Tepper to turn things around. For the first time since 2002, for the first time in over 2 decades, the Panthers have both their head coach and GM, general manager jobs vacant simultaneously. For the first time in over 2 decades, they can build appropriately in the positions of power. You already know who your quarterback's going to be for the next year and a half, probably minimum. So you go into those things with you go into the interviews for your GM, for your coach with what are your thoughts on Bryce Young? How do you fix it? How do you get him back up playing to the quarterback that we thought he was when we drafted him? And you use those answers, make sure they're in unison, the head coach and the GM, and you can build everything in that alignment that we've been talking about all year. Get the 4 horsemen of your franchise. Mm-hmm. Owner, general manager, head coach, and quarterback on the same page for the first time in at least 5 years?
Minimum.
For the first time since it was like the Rivera-Newton prime. Have everybody in their exact location, believing in each other and trusting each other.
So almost 9 years.
Oh, gosh, is it that long? Is it 2024 already?
It is, believe
Goodness
it or not.
Gracious. But as we talked about earlier, when you play big games, you know the stakes, right? If you don't get it right this time, you are Washington under Dan Snyder. If you don't get it right this time, it might be too difficult to come back from. Agents are going to steer their players, their clients away from you. Coaches aren't going to want to coach for you. Anybody that takes the job is going to understand they're cashing a check because they're just not going to believe success is possible with David Tepper leading the way. You'd be Dan Snyder era Washington. And I can't, for those of you that are like, hey, I'm a Panthers fan, I focus on the Panthers, I don't pay attention to other teams, I cannot tell you how bleak and devastating it was in the middle of the Dan Snyder Washington ownership era.
And he was there for better part of a quarter century.
You do not want to go down that path, I promise you. It's the next couple of weeks, wildly important for the Carolina Panthers. Wildly important. Have to get it right.